I have packed in so many tips, so many hacks, so many ways for you to save money on your trip. And just get ready because this is a jam-packed presentation full of tips and tricks. Just a little bit about me before we get started. I'm Sarah. I'm the founder of HostelPass. I was born in California and I fell in love with Europe and budget travel when I studied abroad here in London in 2015. I moved to London in 2019 and I launched HostelPass in November 2021. I am passionate about solo travel and creating community. And I am so excited to share with you all of the stuff I've learned over the past too many years now traveling Europe and saving money doing so. So this is a picture from when I budget traveled a little bit too hard. I ended up staying in an Airbnb in a major Eastern European city, and I had a really creepy host, and it was a really unpleasant situation. I felt unsafe, and I realized that I was in this situation because I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing as I was traveling. I was on a really tight budget, so I was staying in just the cheapest place rather than a place that I knew would be safe for me. And also, I didn't know the city, so I ended up 40 minutes outside of the city center, which just added to feeling a bit trapped and not comfortable in this situation. So I came back from my semester abroad. I ended up talking to a lot of my friends and realizing they had similar stories. And I decided I didn't want anyone to have to deal with this kind of situation again. I just don't want people to have to compromise on their safety because of their budget. So that's why I created HostelPass, which is a digital discount card for the best of European travel, but especially the best hostels. We only work with top-rated, high-quality, centrally located accommodations, and we also work with other, not just hostels as well. So, for example, we've got Yellow Square Rome, and they give you bonuses like 20% off drinks, tours, and activities. We also have a food tour company that we partner with and a pub crawl company. And we've got thousands of happy users. We have hundreds of discounts. These are just 3 to show you a little bit of what we do. But enough about that. Why you're really here is to learn how to plan a budget trip to Europe. So let's get into it. So in this webinar, we're going to cover so many things. We're going to talk about how you can get into the right mindset for your trip, how you can pick budget-friendly destinations, how you can time your trip for savings, how you can hack your way to cheap flights, how you can save big on accommodation, how you can pack light and save money, how you can get around cheaply, eat on a budget, sightsee without breaking the bank, and finally, I will give you an exclusive discount on your HostelPass if you stay until the end. So let's talk about how you can get into the right mindset for your trip. The first thing is that you are here, and that's such a good start. The fact that you didn't hear the word travel and feel like, oh, that's too expensive, I can't do it. There are so many people that don't even start to plan because they feel like it's out of their range. So it's not. There are so many ways to travel cheaply. You can even travel much more cheaply than you might live if you live in a city, for example. And we'll talk about all of that soon. I want to tell you how you can make some little changes now that will help you save money while you're traveling. So, for example, say you're the kind of person that goes out and gets a coffee from a coffee shop every day. If you figure out how to make that coffee yourself at home, you'll not only be saving up some money for your trip, you're also going to be getting into the habit of making things for yourself and saving money while you're traveling. So if you sort of switch your habits to be a bit more budget friendly now, you're going to not only save money, but have that mindset while you're traveling as well. And if you plan to live like a local, this will make your trip a whole lot cheaper too. So right now, if you're at home, you're probably not planning to go out and spend tons of money on an activity, especially not every day. You're probably not eating out every day. If you plan to live like a local there while you're traveling, locals find the fun things to do, the cheap things to do, the free things to do in their towns or cities. So plan to live like a local, you will save a lot of money. And finally, decide what's important to you and make it happen. So if there is a Michelin star restaurant in Paris that you really want to try, that is not a budget activity, but you can compromise in other ways and make sure that's possible. These trips to Europe, or if this is your once in a lifetime trip to Europe, it's such a great opportunity. It doesn't come around very often, and you have to make sure that you make it what you want it to be. So if you have bucket list items, you just have to plan for that and then compromise on other things. But don't miss out because you feel you can't afford it. Find ways to make it happen. So let's talk now about how to pick budget-friendly destinations for your trip. Here's a little map of the different regions of Europe. Eastern Europe is generally the cheapest, and then it gets a bit more expensive as you go to Southern Europe, more expensive in Western Europe, and most expensive in Northern Europe. So I'm going to be using euros here because Europe is primarily priced in euros, and probably there are people joining today from a whole bunch of different currencies, so you can convert on your own from here. But Eastern Europe, you can probably get by spending between 13 and 60 euros per day. And this includes accommodation and transport. I will break these down for you in a minute. Southern Europe, I'd say 25 to 80 euros a day. Western Europe, 35 to 105 euros per day. And Northern Europe, 55 to 180 euros per day. This is as a budget traveler. If you are planning to stay in luxury hotels on your trip, first of all, this is not the presentation for you, but also these prices are based on if you're staying at hostels, if you are cooking some meals, things like that. So if we want to break this down by region, if you're in Eastern Europe, your accommodation is likely going to be around 8 to 25 euros per day. So that's for hostels and dorms. Food and drink, 5 to 15. And transportation, you can get around for free by walking. If you need to take public transport, it'll be cheap. And if you have to take a taxi, it could be a bit more. So activities and attractions, there are lots of free things to do. These apply for all. So I started every one of these charts at 0 for transportation, activities, and miscellaneous, because it will probably average out somewhere between 0 and whatever the higher number is. In Southern Europe, 15 to 35 euros for accommodation per night, and food and drink 10 to 20 per day. So transport up to 15, activities and attractions up to 20, and miscellaneous expenses up to 10. Western Europe, which includes the UK, I have it at 20 to 40 euros per night, 15 to 25 for food and drink, transportation up to 15, activities and attractions 25, miscellaneous expenses to 15. I'm rushing through because you can look at these later if you want. And finally, Northern Europe, 30 to 65 euros per night for a dorm room, for a hostel, food and drink 25 to 45 euros per day, transportation up to 20, activities and attractions to 35, and miscellaneous expenses to 15 euros. So knowing all of that, I wanted to highlight a few popular and cheap cities that I really like, that I recommend. You don't have to compromise on those bucket list destinations just because you're worried about the price tags. So for example, Budapest, Hungary, you can do that for as cheap as 15 euros per day. It's an amazing city and it's incredibly cheap. Lisbon, Portugal is my favorite city in Europe. You can do this for as cheap as 25 euros per day. And Athens, Greece, you can do for as cheap as 30 euros per day. These are all great places. They all have different attractions you want to think about if you're a traveler that enjoys beaches, that enjoys history, that enjoys nature, all that stuff. These will factor into where you want to choose as well. So there are also some hidden gem countries I wanted to highlight. For example, Bulgaria. You can do Bulgaria as cheap as 10 euros per day, and that includes accommodation. It's an underrated city. I think people don't think of it as a popular country. Sofia is a very popular city in Bulgaria, but people don't think of it as a place to go to. And this is just sort of a pro tip where these cities and countries are rich in history. They're really beautiful and they're less touristy, which means they're cheaper. Croatia, which is getting a lot more touristy because of Game of Thrones. You can do that for as cheap as 20 euros per day. You might want to avoid the Game of Thrones filming locations if you want to save a little bit more, because those are getting very popular now. But again, if that's on your bucket list, you can make it happen, figure it out, and budget elsewhere. But Croatia is a big country full of beautiful places, absolutely worth exploring. Montenegro as well. You can do that for as cheap as 20 euros per day too. Montenegro and Croatia are both part of the Balkan region, which is a lesser known but up and coming part of Europe that has amazing natural beauty. It's cheaper and it's just brilliant. I've been there. I love it. I recommend it to everyone. So now let's talk about how you can time your trip for savings. So send me a message in the chat or answer this little poll here. Do you know what shoulder season is? So shoulder season is essentially the time of year where it's not summer and it's not winter. So it's not the height of the high season of travel, and it's not the dead of the horrible bad weather cold time. So shoulder season is April to June, which here's a picture of the Netherlands in shoulder season, full of blooming tulips. The weather is lovely, but it's not so overpopulated with tourists yet. And September to November is also part of shoulder season. This is Paris, obviously with the Eiffel Tower, and you've got the changing leaves. It's just a great time to visit. You feel a bit more like a local when you visit during these times. The days are not too short yet, and the weather is all right. Also, you want to be aware of festivals and regional holidays. These can really make or break your bank if you travel. You want to just know when these are. If you see a hostel that's prices are like skyrocketed at some point, then there's probably some kind of festival or holiday going on that's making them do that. So, for example, St. Patrick's Day in Dublin, which is in March, which is in the shoulder season, I've heard horror stories of hostels raising their rates to €1,000 for a dorm bed for St. Patrick's Day evening. So you don't want to be booking these, or you want to be planning very far in advance if you want to attend one of these festivals in their city. Also, an example would be King's Day in Netherlands. That's in April, and that is a big holiday where things often get a lot more expensive as well. So a bit of a HostelPass hint, HostelPass hack. I'm going to try to make a few of these during this presentation. Book in advance and be flexible. So I mentioned before that the rates skyrocket during these times. Hostels and other booking platforms use this automated technology now, which is really kind of frustrating, but also if you know about it, you have a leg up. So if their beds or rooms are filling up, they will start to increase their rates for those rooms automatically. So they'll say the softwares they use to plan their rates, they'll see, oh, okay, we're getting a lot of bookings at this time. Let's increase demand. Let's make the rate go higher. If you're one of the first people to book at that time, you're going to get a cheaper rate than the person who's booking that same time at a much later date. I hope that makes sense. Like, you want to book early because you will get cheaper rates than people who wait. Okay, how to hack your way to cheap flights to Europe. If you don't know about these already, and if your dates are flexible, I highly recommend Flight Alert newsletters. If an airline puts out a fare that's a mistake, say they forgot a zero, right, in the fare for their flight, they have to honor that mistake fare for 24 hours. There are newsletters that will alert you if an airline from your home airport puts out a mistake fare. These are a really good sort of secret club hack. They're all free. You can pay for premium versions of these. And I want to say nothing on this presentation is sponsored. I am just recommending what I know and what I like. I'll talk about HostelPass, and this is obviously a HostelPass presentation, but we're not getting paid to talk about any of these things. So these newsletters that I'm about to recommend, they all track these. They also track flash deals for these newsletters, and you can put your home airport into all of these, and they will send you personalized recommendations for cheap flights from your home airport. So if your dates are flexible, you can look out for the ones to Europe, but make sure if you choose one or if you see one that you like, you have to book it within 24 hours before it's gone. Going.com used to be Scotch Cheap Flights. This is a really good one. Secretflying.com as well. I'm going to put all the links to these in the chat here. The Flight Deal and Jack's Flight Club. These are all really great things to sign up for. Now, if you know when you're going to go, I personally prefer to use Google Flights over Skyscanner. The reason for this is because you can put your home location in here. Then you can choose Europe. On Skyscanner, you can choose everywhere, but you're going to Europe. So I like to be able to just choose Europe, right? And then you can also say 2-week trip in the next 6 months. If you click that calendar, you'll see other flexible date options. And I mentioned before, be flexible. If you are flexible, you will get the best rates for these kinds of things. So I say 2-week trip in the next 6 months. Go to map view, which is what I've got up here on the screen, and make sure you zoom out because Iceland is not something that you can see on the default view for Europe on Google Flights, but it's almost always the cheapest, especially if you're flying from the US. And what I recommend is to fly anywhere in Europe, because then once you're in Europe, you can get around Europe for much cheaper. There are budget airlines, there are trains, there are buses. We'll talk about all of that later. But take a look at all of the options and just go wherever's cheapest and plan your trip from there. So Iceland has a lot of has a new budget airline that's flying from and direct from the US. Keep an eye out for that. Other flight tips and tricks. If you are a student, you can check out Student Universe and you can get special student fares for flights. This is a great website. I'll put it in the chat as well. And one of our partners at HostelPass, or just someone we're friends with, we really like his stuff, is Nomadic Matt. He has a really good blog post about how to find cheap flights. So if this is something you're interested in, you can dive into it a lot deeper here at this article, and I'll put it in the chat as well. All right, now my favorite topic, how to save big on accommodation. Just going to take a sip of water before we get started on this one. If you have any questions on anything I've said so far, feel free to put a message in the chat about it. We will take a look at it and get back to you as soon as possible. So, accommodation, let's go. So hostels are the number one place to stay if you are on a budget and traveling Europe. Hostels are essentially hotels, but they're much more communal and you are paying for a bed in a room rather than a whole room. So this picture on the left is a dorm. Those are called dorm rooms when you're buying a bed rather than a room. And this is a picture of a dorm room at the Generator Hostel in Venice. They are oftentimes much more private than you might expect. If you can see here, you've got a reading light. You've also got these outlets here. And this is sort of a privacy beam. I don't know what you call that little, anyway, it's a privacy something. There are a lot of hostels that have privacy curtains. Back when I did my trip, even though it was just 2015, these kind of beds didn't exist. So there's a lot of focus now on making the dorm experience more private while you're sleeping, which is great. And what you're doing is paying a fraction of a price of a hotel room because you're only paying for a fraction of that room. It's a great way to meet people. This is a picture of Avenue Budapest. I think they have free breakfast, especially for HostelPass guests. And you have a much more communal vibe. So if you're a solo traveler, you're going to meet loads of friends. It's going to be awesome. So I love hostels. They are the way to go. I mentioned dorm rooms. So this is my favorite hostel in the world. Don't tell the other ones. Eco Mama Amsterdam. This hostel is just beautiful. It's an eco-friendly hostel and it is, gorgeous. I love it. Then we've also got private rooms at hostels. So if you are older or in a couple or you want more privacy and you're not on as tight of a budget, you can stay in private rooms at hostels. This is the Generator Hostel in Rome. And they're basically the price of budget hotel rooms. And they feel like hotel rooms with that communal vibe when you leave the room. It's a great compromise if you are maybe, yeah, not feeling the dorm room anymore, but you still want that community feel. So here are some hacks for how you can save the most money at hostels. Book early. I mentioned this before, talked about the flexible rates, talked about how things change. And if you book early, this frustrates me because when I traveled, my main thing was I wanted to be spontaneous. But what I recommend, and things are just getting busier, especially post-COVID, you need to book early if you want to get the good rates. But what you can do is book flexible rates. So flexible rates allow you to cancel your booking free of charge, usually up to 48 hours before, or even sometimes 24 hours before. And if you book a flexible rate, you'll have something locked in, but you still have a bit of spontaneity because you can change it as you go. And at HostelPass, we get you discounts on, I think, all flexible rates at all hostels. So it's a really good option. Look for location. So this is a HostelPass hint as well. What I mean by look for location is do not look for somewhere that's just the cheapest. Like me, you might end up 40 minutes outside of the city center. You will spend more money getting in and out of the city than you will if you just spent it on a little bit of extra cash on those nights at the centrally located hostel. You also really don't want to be having to find your way home at 2 a.m. after a night out in a new city, and then you have to get an Uber. It's just so much worse than if you find somewhere in the city center and you always know where you're meant to go and everything is walkable. So location, location, location. Look for perks. A lot of hostels will offer things like free breakfast or organized events. With HostelPass, you can often get things like a free welcome drink or free meals, which save tons of money. I mean, in Europe, sometimes it'll cost £14. I mean, I'm in London. Like I've seen cocktails that cost almost £20. Think of if you're getting a free welcome drink, you're essentially saving that money and getting the drink from the hostel. So you can subtract that from your budget. Free meals, free breakfast can save you so much. And we'll get into food a little bit later. But obviously the final HostelPass hostel hack is to use HostelPass itself. So I'll tell you why. Here's why you should use HostelPass. We have the absolute cheapest rates on dorms and private rooms at the best hostels in Europe. Your HostelPass is a digital discount card, remember, so it's valid for a full year. And also, we only work with vetted, curated hostels. I wouldn't put anyone in a hostel that I wouldn't stay in myself, and I have high standards, and that's the whole thing. We don't want people to be feeling unsafe in a new city. You can get bonuses like free breakfast, late checkout, free welcome drink as a HostelPass perk, and those are exclusive to you as a HostelPass member. And you also get other benefits, not just hostels, which we'll get into a little bit later. And we plant a tree for every sale. So travel is obviously not as eco-friendly as a lot of people hope. We can do what we can to make it better, but we always want to offset whatever we can. So whenever someone buys a HostelPass, we plant a tree. So yeah, I heard you thinking, oh, you have the cheapest rates? Okay, prove it. And I will do that right now. So let's take a look at this 12-bed dorm room at Avenue Hostel Budapest for 2 nights. This is a picture of Avenue Hostel dorm room. I just want to say this is the first example that I looked up. I wasn't searching forever to find one that would look good to you guys. This is the first example, and I could do this again and again. It will always be good. So I just want to stress that. We're looking at a 12-bed dorm room at Avenue Hostel Budapest for 2 nights. The nights that we're looking at are September 15th to September 17th, 2023. This is shoulder season, and it's a weekend. If you're booking this hostel on Hostel World, those 2 nights will cost you €58.80. And I looked these up on the 26th of April, 2023. So that's where this data is from. If you are booking this hostel on Hostel World, for those 2 nights, it will cost you €58.80. If you're booking directly via the hostel on their website,
'That will cost you €47.04.
that will cost you €47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. 47.04. And the way HostelPass works is we give you discounts on top of direct booking rates. So you're already getting the cheapest rate when you book direct with a hostel. But when you use your HostelPass discount, the rate for 2 nights total comes to 37 euros and 64 cents. That means you are saving 21 euros and 16 cents compared to Hostelworld, and you are saving 9 euros and 40 cents compared to booking direct without HostelPass. Okay, I know what you're thinking. You're like, cool, dorm rooms, but I don't want to stay in dorm rooms. I want to stay in private rooms. Sure. Does it work in private rooms too? Yes, it does. So let's take the same hostel, Avenue Hostel Budapest, same 2 nights, September 15th to 17th, Friday to Sunday. Private double room. This is a picture of the room on the right here. Hostel World will charge you 230 euros and 8 cents. Direct booking will be 184 euros and 8 cents. HostelPass, you are only paying 147 euros and 27 cents for this hostel. You save 82 euros and 81 cents compared to booking on Hostelworld for 2 nights. HostelPass is valid for 365 nights of the year, and you are saving 82 euros and 81 cents on just 2 of those nights. Think of how much money you could save if you're traveling for months. You're also saving 36 euros and 81 cents compared to booking direct without your HostelPass. So, hostels aren't the only way to stay when you're traveling Europe. There are non-hostel alternatives that I begrudgingly will talk about now, but I'm just kidding. I do like these other alternatives. If you're on a serious budget, I think it's good to sometimes mix in some couch surfing with your hostels. So couch surfing is a platform that allows you to connect with hosts and stay for free. I did this in Switzerland when I was there in 2015. I stayed with a lovely woman who ended up showing me around, taking me on hikes. It was just amazing. So these are other travelers that feel like they want to give back because they've been able to crash on other travelers' couches. So you're really just getting a couch in someone's room, and people are verified on there and they have reviews. So I'll put a link to Couchsurfing here. World Packers is a work exchange platform. I really like World Packers because if you are looking to travel longer term, you can do so through work exchange. You could work at a hostel and you could get room and board from that hostel. You could work at a farm. There are lots of things you can do. And we've recently just entered into a partnership with World Packers where you can get an annual membership with World Packers for 20% off. So that usually saves you between $10 and $20 for your annual membership to World Packers. And what that membership does is it lets you access all of these volunteering opportunities and apply to them. So big up World Packers. I'll put the link to their stuff as well on the right. All right, how to pack light and save money. Packing hacks. Here we go. I am an expert packer after all of this time, and the number one packing hack I can tell you is to get a backpack with a removable day pack. The kind of backpack I'm talking about is Osprey Fairview 55 travel pack. This is like the one that I had when I traveled. I was actually wearing it in the picture when I introduced myself earlier, but if you see this bit here, this comes off. You can unzip this front bit and it's just a normal backpack and it attaches to this bigger backpack. This is usually acceptable if you're traveling on budget airlines, and it just makes everything easy to travel with when you're on your own or when you're walking through. You don't want to be rolling a suitcase on those cobblestone European streets. These can sometimes run you about $220, so I recommend checking eBay, outlet stores, etc. for deals. But if I understand a lot of people having a backpack might not be a feasible option for them, it's totally cool if you want to get a roller bag. Just make sure it's carry-on sized. You do not need to check a bag. This is a huge HostelPass hint. Do not ever check a bag. When you're traveling Europe, you want to live that minimalist lifestyle. That will save you money. That will save you baggage fees. That will save you time. That will save you Uber and taxi costs to transport all your luggage to the airport. You won't need to do that. So huge hint, just take a carry-on size bag. I promise you can do it. I promise you don't need all that stuff, especially if you're going in warmer season. The only time I would say, okay, fine, is if you're going skiing or something and you need to bring all that like gear. Excuse me. Yeah, and this goes along with it. Pack light. You just don't need all the things you think you do, and it will save you so much time, and it will be less heavy, and you'll just be happier. And pack the right stuff. So when you're packing the right stuff, I would recommend, I think I put on here maybe 7 or 8 things, and I will tell you what they are. First is a universal adapter. So if you're planning to go to the UK and Europe, there are different outlets. So plugging in your stuff will require different adapters, but there are universal adapters. I will put a link to the one that I use here. And what it also has are multiple USB ports. So if you have lots of stuff you want to charge, you can do it all from one adapter, which is great. And you can also put any type of plug into your universal adapter and put any type of plug out. So totally recommend bringing that. Portable charger, this is the exact one that I use. It gets me 2 days of not having to charge my phone. I can bring it with me. I just love it. Like the peace of mind you get when you're using your map to navigate on your phone and you're not worried about your phone dying and not getting lost, huge. So definitely recommend a portable charger. Combo lock or padlock. I recommend this as well because hostels a lot of the time will have security lockers. Almost all, if not all of the hostels that we have on HostelPass use security lockers, but sometimes they'll charge you or rent you a combo lock or padlock to lock the security locker. If you bring one yourself, you avoid any of those fees of doing that over and over again at each hostel. So just that one, I have that one and it's £4. I got it for $4. Totally recommend. This is optional, but a microfiber towel can be a great shout if you are looking to stay in dorm rooms. A lot of the time, hostels do not give you towels as part of a dorm room experience. If you stay in a private room, you'll often get towels and all that stuff. If you bring a microfiber towel, you can use this in the shower. It dries really quickly and you can usually roll it up and just put it back in your bag. It also doubles as a beach towel if you're going to beach places in Europe, in the different European cities. So microfiber towel, it does take a bit of room. Hostels will rent you towels if they don't give you one. So I'll leave that one up to you to decide. This won't save you money, but it will save you sleep. So bring an eye mask and earplugs if you're staying in a dorm room at a hostel. It's just necessary. And you can find cheap combos at airports or on Amazon, whatever you choose. Medications, just sometimes you can't get the things that you need in Europe or that you're used to. I do recommend just make sure you put this on your packing list so you don't forget it. And this goes along with my next point, which I will tell you later, but it's about travel insurance. Finally, this is a HostelPass hack or hint. Bring a water bottle. I bring a really lightweight water bottle that looks like this. And the water in Europe, in pretty much all European cities, is drinkable. So think of all the money you'll save not buying water bottles when you're out in Europe. You can drink it. I know people get weird about that stuff, but it's completely fine. The only place where I wasn't able to drink the tap water in Europe that I went so far was a Greek island. So sometimes islands, you'll just ask them. They'll tell you if you should get bottled water instead. But mainland Europe, bring a water bottle, drink the tap water. You'll save so much money. Okay, other essentials. Travel insurance. Yes, so if you're from the US, use Insure My Trip to browse and compare options. A couple of my recommendations are Safety Wing. I will put a link to Safety Wing here. Those are affordable monthly plans for budget travelers, for nomads, etc. And Insured Nomads is an option for longer term coverage if you are traveling for multiple months around. Okay. Whew, I'm getting like short of breath from talking so much. I want to wrap this up quickly. Thank you for your patience and for staying with us so far. Other essentials would be a travel credit card. So I am not an authority on this subject, but our friend Nomadic Matt is. He has a really good article. I'll link it over there. And it just tells you, this is a chart I've copied from it, all the best travel credit cards. This is, I think, geared more at US customers. My choice for foreign transactions is Revolut. I don't know if any of you know Revolut or use Revolut, but I absolutely love it. It's an app, and what it lets you do is have a digital card, but also a physical card. They'll send it to you. It's a debit-based card, and you can convert currency at the actual exchange rate. So it's just living abroad as an American living in Europe, this has saved me so much money. If you pay for their premium plan, which I think it's $6 or $7 a month, you also can get certain travel insurance and access to airport lounges and all that stuff. So Revolut is great. I'll put a link as well. And what I also love about it is it notifies you when you make a transaction. So unfortunately, it happens. It's happened to a lot of my friends. If they get their stuff stolen abroad, their wallet stolen or whatever, you want to be able to know as soon as that happens. So you'll get a notification if someone uses your Revolut card or if you use your Revolut card. And then if it's not you using it, you can freeze your card and just order a new one or use your digital card, which is really great for security. Other essentials, eSIM. So if you've ever traveled outside of your phone plan, like into a roaming area, and you get that notification from your phone plan that's like, you're now outside of your plan, you have to pay $10 a day for access to data. You don't have to deal with that anymore, and you don't have to pay that $10 a day. There is now a new thing, sort of new, called eSIM. And the company that I love the most for eSIM is Zim Connections. They have an incredible Europe plan. So you can get 30 days of 20 gigabytes of data for 32 euros and 50 cents. So eSIM, how can I describe this easily? eSIM essentially is a virtual SIM card that's in your phone already. If I guarantee that at least 90% of the people watching today have capability for eSIM on their phone. You can just Google it and you can check it out. If you download the Zim Connections app, you'll be able to figure that out as well. What it allows you to do is install a virtual SIM card that you can use to toggle on and off. So if you buy this plan, for example, the 30 days, you can toggle it on when you start it and then toggle it off when you're done. And then you can also turn off your US or whatever country you're coming from's original plan. I feel like I'm being very convoluted here and I'm sorry. But basically you can switch your data plan and you don't have to deal with roaming fees. So we work with Zim Connections. They're so great, and you can get 20% off of these data plans with your HostelPass membership. This means that you can get 20 gigs of 30 days of data in 37 countries in Europe, right? For just 26 euros. Think about if you had to pay $10 a day for 30 days, you'd be paying $300 for your roaming fees that month. If you use Zim Connections, you're only paying 26 euros. So with HostelPass as well. Huge, huge plus. This is a technology that I think is just going to save everyone so much money. So highly recommend it. And okay, we're almost done. I hope this has been helpful. I hope this has been interesting. Again, any questions, just put them in the chat. So how to get around cheaply. For getting between cities, I recommend using trains. So this is a train map from Euro. This is how well connected the trains are in Europe. It is amazing. So you can fly places, but trains are better for carbon emissions. They're nicer. You get to see where you're going the whole time. It's an experience in itself. And for trains, you can use a HostelPass if you are not from Europe. If you're from Europe, it's called an HostelPass. And the way it works is you essentially get different plans of this one. The most popular is 7 travel days within 1 month. And you're paying a set amount for those 7 days, and you can use them as you go within 1 month. This allows you to budget before you go, and it also usually saves you money, but not always. So if you really want to get into this, you have to do some research and budget it out. The reason it wouldn't always save you money is because sometimes there are reservation fees. Reservation fees are when they're these pesky little things that I remember because I had a Euro pass when I traveled. But when every train in Italy that I took with my Euro pass, I had to pay 10 euros as well for a seat reservation. So this is just something that makes it a little bit more difficult to actually know how much you're paying before you go. So take a look at the routes you want to take and if there will be reservation fees involved, and that will help you budget it out even better. A HostelPass hint is to take sleeper trains. So these are a way that you can save on accommodation and travel at the same time. You can take sleeper trains, which basically are like a hostel dorm room, and a lot of these are included in your Eurail or Interrail pass already, but they always have reservation fees. I think they're called night trains here. So you can choose like a female-only carriage. You can choose different benefits, or you can sometimes get breakfast. They're a great way to travel. I highly recommend it. Other options for getting between cities. Bus is the cheapest, but probably the longest option. Check out Flixbus and Omeo. Budget airlines like Ryanair and EasyJet are usually also very cheap, but obviously worse in terms of carbon emissions. Use Skyscanner to find cheap flights, but look out for hidden fees and baggage allowance, because a lot of the time they'll advertise an incredibly cheap flight to draw you in, and then they'll have fees, or you'll have to pay to even sit with your friend. So either be okay with not sitting with your friend, always only take carry-on luggage. Just make sure you look out for this stuff on the flights. It can get really frustrating, all the hidden fees. BlaBlaCar is an interesting option as well. It's essentially a carpooling app, and it connects drivers with passengers for affordable long-distance travel. So it's kind of like couch surfing, but with carpooling. All right, so that's getting between cities. Now, once you're in the city, what are the best ways to get around? So walking is obviously my preferred way. It's free. I always recommend you do a free walking tour whenever you get to a new city. This is a HostelPass hint. It'll orient you to the new city, and it will make it feel much more walkable, and it will help you see the sights. Free walking tours are available. I think I get into this in the next slide, but essentially they've got them in almost every city, and they're free, and then you pay a tip to your guide at the end of what you feel it was worth to you. So if you only have $5, that's completely fine. That's expected. Don't worry, it is free. So it's up to you how much you pay. Public transport is my second choice for getting around, because it is the whole living like in a local thing, and it is also quite cheap. My last choice would be taxi. Most cities have Uber, so it's possible in a dire situation you can do it, but it won't be the cheapest option. All right, this is our last section before you get your HostelPass discount. We are almost there. Thank you for staying with us. I hope it's been enjoyable so far. Last section is how to eat on a budget. So, eating cheap. The first thing I would recommend is to stay at hostels with a free meal. If you stay at hostels with a free meal, you need to factor this in, because that is money that you are saving on other things. When you are looking at the options, think about that free meal as something you don't need to spend later. So if the hostel is a couple euros more expensive, but it has a free meal, that can sometimes be worth it. I don't think they would like me saying this, but I'm going to tell you, if your hostel has free breakfast, I will sometimes put a little bit of that breakfast, it's usually a buffet, into a napkin and bring it with me out on my day out, because then I sometimes have free lunch as well. I'm going to put a poll over there and see if you guys think that's okay or not for me to have said. I don't know if they'll like that. That's definitely not allowed, but if you're sneaky about it, it might work. Cook your meals in the hostel kitchen. If you're cooking your meals in the hostel kitchen, not only is it a great way to save money, it's also a great way to meet people and meet people from other cultures who have other food to you, and you'll find some amazing meals and ways of cooking. These are the kinds of experiences that you want to collect when you're traveling and be able to bring home with you. It's so great. So communal kitchens are just where you can meet people, where you can eat great food, and where you can save money. Shop at grocery stores. If you're from the US like me, I feel like the grocery stores in the US are outrageously expensive right now. And in Europe, everything is just so much more affordable. So you will save money shopping at grocery stores versus eating out in Europe. I definitely recommend that as a hack. This is a sort of HostelPass hint because I haven't seen other people recommend this yet, but it's an app that I use and I really love. It's called Too Good To Go. Too Good To Go is a app that's trying to reduce food waste. So they connect with local restaurants and they promote them on the app, and they say, collect the food we have left over at this restaurant at the end of the day or at the end of breakfast or whenever it is that they're no longer able to sell that food, and we'll give it to you for a super reduced rate. So Too Good To Go isn't available in like as many places in the US right now, but if you're in Europe, it's almost everywhere. So check that out. I'll put a link to the app in the chat. And eat like a local. So what I mean by eat like a local is if you live in California, in LA, you're not going to be eating on Hollywood Boulevard right by, all the tourist attractions. That's just a silly thing to do because you're going to be spending marked up prices for food that's probably not that good. You're local, you're going to find the hidden gems in Silver Lake or Los Feliz or in Culver City. You're not going to be looking at the hot spots for your meals. So when you're abroad, do the same. Make sure you're always at least 5 blocks from a tourist attraction. You'll see the prices get lower and lower as you go. So eat like a local. And finally, I'm sorry, we had one more section. Last section before your discount, how to sightsee without breaking the bank. So, seeing the sights on a budget. Do a free walking tour. We talked about that before. Visit free attractions. Museums in London, for example, all the public museums are free. And there's so many free attractions in Europe. Look on Google for these. You will find them, and you can fill up your entire trip with free attractions that are all amazing. Also, ask your hostel for things to do because the hostel staff are trained in figuring out what people who stay at their hostel like to see in their city. So this is a great way to figure it out. And they know you're on a budget because you're staying at a hostel. So they'll make sure to find you something that's cheap or even free. And finally, use HostelPass. So I mentioned we're not just hostels. We have discounts like pub crawls, food tours, cooking classes in Italy, city exploration games. These are like walking tours, but they're self-guided and they're a bit more of like an escape room or not an escape room, you're outside, you're completely fine, but more like a quest, right? And also museums. We have partnership with the Mocha Museum in Amsterdam, Barcelona. This is such an awesome thing. And the thing I love about Mocha Museum for HostelPass is if you're a student, you can combine your student discount and your HostelPass discount and get like 50% off. Totally recommend. Okay, so I know what you're thinking. You're like, wow, HostelPass sounds amazing. Sounds like it's going to sort my whole trip. Thank you, Sarah, for all of this amazing information, but it probably costs like $200 because it's worth so much money. Well, I'm really pleased to tell you it's not $200. It's only $29.99, and it's valid for a whole year. So here's what you're going to do to get your discount from being at this webinar. Thank you so much on your HostelPass. Now I'm going to tell you how you can get your HostelPass discount. Click this link. I'll put it in the chat. Click Get HostelPass. Use the coupon code I watched it all. You did it. You made it to the end of the whole webinar. Well done. I hope it's been so useful for you. So you can use this code I watched it all. That will get you 25% off your HostelPass, and that code is valid for 48 hours. So I'll put the link in the chat. Actually, I'll put a link, I can make this, which will just put you right to that page, and it will automatically apply the discount as well. But wait, because there's one more HostelPass hint. This is what you see when you go to buy your HostelPass. You will see this this page here. So click on the link that I'm putting in the chat and you will see this. Actually, you will probably see this because of the discount we are giving you. Then if you click, I am buying this as a gift. Now this is a secret that you have deserved because you made it all the way to the end of the webinar. If you say, I am buying this as a gift, instead of being valid from the day you put your, the day you're buying your pass for a year, it's valid for 1 year from date of redemption. And I'm doing this because the code is valid for 48 hours and you might not be traveling just yet. I want you to get the most out of your HostelPass that you possibly can. So if you click I'm buying this as a gift, it switches from being valid for 1 year from when you buy it to being valid for 1 year from when you redeem it. And there is currently no expiration date on when you can redeem it. So here's the new way of how you can get it. Click the link, click Get HostelPass, select I'm buying this as a gift, and use the coupon code I watched it all. I will put a link in the chat right now that gets you right to the purchase page with the code applied. Just make sure you select I'm buying this as a gift if you want. You can buy it for yourself now. So that's all you have to do. Thank you so much for being part of this webinar. I've really enjoyed talking to you. I hope that this has felt like me throwing money at you. And I really hope that you have the best and most amazing trip that you possibly can.